Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Rewind that. It's your girl, Miss K. If this is your first time coming across my channel, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe if you like the vibe and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. Alright guys, today we're going to be going over the latest episode of Raising Kanan, season 1, episode number 2, called Reaping and Sowing. Alright, let's get right into this episode, guys. So the episode starts off with Kanan and his mom, right? And this is his first day back to school since all the drama went down, with killing Buck 20 and all that stuff, right? So Rock is trying to tell Kanan, look, you need to be careful. It's still hot out there. Watch your back and everything, right? But Kanan is just like, yeah, I got it. I'm good. Stuffing food down his throat and everything. And it was really annoying to me to see how nonchalant he was about the whole situation. Like, he is really not taking it seriously, right? So, of course, Rock is very concerned, but Kanan is not. So she's like, look, it did cross my mind for me to lock your freaking behind up in here until stuff really cools down. But she lets him go to school. And as he goes out the door, there is a car that comes by kind of slow. And there's this guy peeking out of the window, in the back seat. And he looks like he is about to pull off a drive-by. But turns out that nothing happens, okay? The guy throws a freaking Yellow Pages book on the ground. So, Rock, who is a nervous wreck, is like, look, I'm going to take you to school. And that's that. So on the ride to school, all Kanan cares about is when is his mother going to put him to work? And she's like, are you freaking serious? And he's like, listen, when we was on the beach and we was bucking off shots or whatever the heck he said, you told me that you was going to get me involved. So he is just really itching to get out into them streets. So, Rock tells him, look, you've been started, okay? Once you pulled that trigger, you in it. That's what I've been trying to tell you this whole freaking time. She also tells him that people are talking and pointing fingers, and he better believe that some of those fingers are going to be pointed at him and his friends. Then Rock tells Kanan that she's scared and that he should be scared too, because being scared keeps them alert and alive. You either need to be scared of them or be scared of me, but be scared. So Kanan seems to be paying a little more attention to his mother now and says, I'm scared. Next, Kanan finally gets to school and we see that there is a commotion. Kids are gathered around, 2 girls fighting, and we find out that one of the girls fighting is Davina, Buck's girlfriend, okay? So, comes to find out they're actually fighting over Buck, but the biggest deal is that Davina is not only pretty, but she got hands, okay? But the best part of this scene was when Juke was like, fighting over a dead Negro? Okay, it don't get much stupider than that. And that is very true. Next, Kanan sees Davina in the principal's office, waiting for her mom to come pick her up because obviously she's about to be suspended. Okay, and the saddest thing about this and the most grimy thing about this is that he sits down next to her and he says, I'm sorry about Buck. We could already see that Davina is in mourning, Obviously, this was her boyfriend. She tells Kanan that I know that y'all wasn't friends, but he was a good dude, So this is definitely affecting her and hurting her. And who knows how long it's going to take for her to come back from this, right? And if she ever finds out that Kanan had anything to do with this, that's going to be a whole nother story. So we'll see. Next, Rock meets up with Nique again, and they're talking about the situation, of course, right? But as he pulls up, because they're meeting in a cemetery, so as he pulls up, he says to Rock, I was circling this cemetery for about 10 minutes, to make sure, because it seemed like you was setting me up, because obviously they're meeting there alone. None of their crew is coming with either of them, right? And so when he tells Rock that he felt like it was the setup at first, I love her response, which was, you won't see me coming, Nique. And I really believe that, and I'm not ever going to forget that, just in case Rock is the one to take out Nique. Anyway, Rock tells Nique that there's still a lot of chatter going on about who killed Buck. So Nique assures her and says, look, I called off the hit, Rock. So, there's nothing else I can do, right? And remember, I told you, Buck's folks are angry right now. And I can't be held accountable for civilians exercising their God-given right to hit back. Then he tells Rock that she knows how it is. You know how this thing goes. The streets need a body. And once he said this, guys, I was like, oh gosh, We already know. He told Rock, streets need a body. She's going to make sure that a body comes up, and it's not going to be her son's. Next, Kanan and his crew are at school, and Famous tells Kanan and the crew that, listen, the word is really bubbling over about what happened to Buck. His sister told him that he heard them talking about it even in the nail salon. So Juke says to Kanan, are you good? And he said, I'm living. So here comes D-Wiz talking about he good because he know I'm the one that put that Negro down, right? And so Kanan was like, look, you can have him, but you ain't doing nobody no favors by speaking on it out loud. So we already see here that D-Wiz had no qualms about killing somebody, and he actually is the one that he wants the props for it, you know. Even in the scene where they were shooting at him, he was the only one asking the question, did you shoot him or did I? But, you know, that's one thing I noticed. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe he's just heartless. I mean, obviously, he's nonchalant about it. So, yeah. And, of course, to prove that this kid is heartless, he even talks about how he might be in love with Davina now. Not giving two craps that, first of all, you had a hand in her boyfriend's murder. Now you want to push up on the girl. And even Jukebox said something about it. Like, her man just died and you trying to push up on her now? Like, wow. And he's like, she's single. Like, so what? He don't care. Next, we see Detective Howard. He's like working with some rookie cop or whatever, right? And she's over here like, oh, maybe we can go and talk to Danielle Worley. So she's a rookie, but meanwhile, she's over there trying to tell him what they should probably do for this investigation for Buck 20. So Detective Howard tells her, look, his name is Buck 20 on the streets. Don't nobody know no freaking Danielle Worley. And what you're going to do is you're going to stay in a car while I go inside. So to be honest, guys, this exchange between Detective Howard and his little rookie partner reminded me a lot of Denzel and Ethan Hawke in Training Day. And that is the vibe that I'm actually getting from Detective Howard. From last week's episode, I wasn't sure what we were going to get from him, but I'm having that feeling that he is going to be a crooked cop. Well, that he is a crooked cop, right? And he's going to be more like Denzel was in Training Day. And we even see more of that when he pulls up to a spot for Nique and his crew, right? He goes up in there and, you know, he telling them, look, y'all better act like y'all know who I am, this and that. You know what I'm saying? He on his King Kong ain't got nothing on me type vibe. So that's what I'm getting from him right now. And so for me, his story probably won't end well, but I think that's way down the line in seasons to come. Next, Marvin goes to the club where Tony is, and you know, he's trying to get her to make sure that he can hold his party there tomorrow night. So obviously we see here that he couldn't care less about what Rock and Lulu was talking about, you know, like, I'm throwing me a party, I'm making sure the streets know we still around. Okay, and Rock is like, okay, I'm trying to freaking run a business and you trying to throw a party. Like, if that don't say it all, I don't know what the heck does, right? Anyway, long story short, we see that Tony is still in mourning over her little dog, and she also is still talking trash about Rock, and she really needs to be careful before her dog is not the only thing that ends up fried, okay? Or radiated, as Marvin said. So anyway, Tony is like, you know, I'm in mourning, and I actually thought that maybe your sister was the one who killed my dog. And Marvin is like, oh no, Rock loves animals, this and that, and she doesn't usually like white girls, but she likes you. So he's trying to butter Tony up so that he can get that club. So I guess that was enough buttering up for Tony, because she was like, okay, what time tomorrow night, Marvin? And that settled that, right? Next, as I mentioned earlier, Detective Howard pulls up on Nique and his crew, and he tells him that, you know, we can't have no more bodies around here. Like, he knows that Buck was one of his. So, you know, Nique is trying to play it off, of course, and say, well, by one of mine, you mean one of my friends, right? So, bottom line is, Detective Howard tells him, listen, we can't have no more bodies, all right? Especially kids. And so Nique's response is, you need to talk to your girl, Rock. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, you just gonna snitch just like that? Like, so easy, so simple, in front of all his boys and everything? Like, just not teaching them no kind of code? Like, I don't know what that was about, okay? But that was snitching. And maybe it's because Nique feels like Detective Howard is a crooked cop, you know what I'm saying? And he knows what's going on in these streets, who's who and all that stuff, that maybe in his mind, it's not snitching. But to me, that was still snitching, but whatever. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with that one, okay? But, Detective Howard, he kind of like on the same thing I'm on, like we can't be talking about all of this in front of your boys' choir crack, okay? So we need to step outside. So they go outside, and Detective Howard tells Nique that they both know that the worst thing that happened to Southside was Raquel Thomas taking over for High Post. And I was like, okay, I see where we going with this one, right? He ain't really for Raquel. So anyway, Detective Howard goes on to tell Nique that Raquel either don't know the rules or she don't care about them, right? Then he tells Nique that there's room for only one king and he's betting on him. Then he tells Nique that if he makes sure there's no more bodies, he'll make sure that he's the one sitting on the throne. So from this exchange, we see that Raquel is definitely going to have to watch her back because we got Nique, who basically took all her corners, all right? And then now we have Detective Howard, who is betting against her. So he's going to probably undermine everything that she does or try to screw up everything that she does, right? Next, Raquel and Lulu run into Famous and D-Wiz coming out of a corner store. And through conversation, like, how's your mom and how's this and that, she finds out that D-Wiz's brother came home from jail. All right, so we're going to find out later that Raquel put two and two together that Kanan and D-Wiz got the guns from his brother. Anyway, so now they go into the store, right? Lulu and Rock, and they basically want to do business with the owner of the bodega. So as they enter the store, they see the bodega owner's wife, and her face is pretty beat up. Well, she has like a red eye. I don't want to say black eye because the thing was freaking red, but you can tell that this guy is beating the crap out of his wife, all right? So from the looks of Raquel's face, she's probably going to beat the crap out of this dude by the time all of this is over. And I'm not saying this season, but I do think it's eventually going to happen. And guess what? They might get rid of him, okay, and let the wife take over. So it could actually happen this season. We'll see. Next, Marvin takes Kanan to the stash house. So basically, he could be babysat, all right? His mom wants to keep him off the streets, but she didn't let Kanan know that, okay? Instead, Marvin is over here making it seem like Kanan is in some type of training. But we already know that is not the case. Next, we see that Jukebox has a little hustle, right? Where she's selling bootleg clothes and coats and whatever, right? And we also learn that she has the gift of gab and just, she knows how to sell things and also give a little customer service at the end, okay? Anyway, Rock, Lulu, and Marvin sit down and talk, and Marvin lets it be known that his party is tonight. So Rock says to Lulu, now might be the time to get your Reggie Jackson on. And, of course, before all this, I had no idea what the heck she was talking about. Still don't understand what it means, but I know what she was referring to, right? And so Lulu looks at her like, oh my gosh, And so Rock says, I don't like it no more than you do. All right, so he gets up, Lulu, and he leaves the table. And Marvin is like, what the heck are y'all talking about? What does my party have to do with Reggie Jackson? And Rock is like, it's just work stuff, all right? And she also gets up and walks away. And, when you look at Marvin's face sometimes after his brother and sister kind of don't share things with him, for now, it doesn't seem to bother him. It seems like he understands that that's the way things are. But I wonder how far that's going to go. Now, grown Kanan did narrate to us that Uncle Marvin is loyal, okay, and he's tough. So that's going to stick out to me, and I'm not going to go too far with thinking that something might happen between him and his siblings because grown Kanan let us know that he's loyal. But I still think something is going to happen. I do believe that some type of friction is going to take place, and we're going to talk about that a little later. Next, Kanan is at the stash house, and he's freaking walking around exploring and everything like Dora the Explorer. And he finds this door that's bolted like with a bunch of locks, and it's kind of like downstairs, right? So this guy gonna push on the door, and I'm like, how you gonna push on the door when you see all these locks on it, okay? Anyway, so the guy who was basically babysitting him, unbeknownst to Kanan, comes to the doorway at the top of the steps like, what you looking for? And Kanan was like, what's behind this door? And the guy was like, nothing you need to worry about. So Kanan gonna talk about some Rock put me in here for you to teach me, right? And the guy says, no, Rock, also known as your mom, put you in here so that I can babysit you and to keep your stupidness off the streets. So he definitely burst Kanan's bubble. Next, Jukebox meets up with Nicole again, okay? And this time they're in like a little boutique, and Juke looks at a shirt that cost $65, and she kind of was just like, no thank you, right? And the crazy thing is she just made $250 from that jacket she just sold, okay? So she does have the money, but I guess she's just looking at it like, why would I get that ugly shirt for that much? But anyway, that's neither here nor there, okay? Nicole offered to buy the shirt, and Juke got a whole attitude. She got offended and like, why would I need you to buy this for me, Nicole? I'm not your charity case, blah, blah, blah. So she walks out of the store, and, Nicole follows her and says, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even like the shirt, whatever, even though she said she liked it. But long story short, Nicole tells Juke that the only way that she knows to show somebody that she likes them or cares is by buying things. That's the way she was taught, right? So anyway, Juke obviously forgives her, and she is the one this time that moves in for the kiss. So now this is Jukebox's first kiss, and yes, she kissed the girl and she freaking likes it, all right? To the point where she goes home and freaking sings about it, and we'll talk about that a little later as well. We also find out that Jukebox's real name is freaking Laverne. I don't know if y'all knew that already from Power Book 1, but I didn't. I definitely do not remember that. So whatever, her name is Laverne, which is very odd. Doesn't seem to fit her at all. Next, Kanan confronts his mother about putting him in the stash house to keep him off the streets. And Rock was like, that's exactly what I did, Rock also tells Kanan that before he starts calling her a liar and getting on her about what she did, he needs to understand that she started off the same way with his father, Defcon. All she was doing was sitting on a stash and watching TV all day long. She also tells Kanan that Defcon did this for 2 reasons. One, because she was pregnant and he didn't want her fighting off junkies. And the next was to see if she could follow orders. So once again, we see that Kanan is listening, and he tells his mother that Defcon was a smart dude. And that's when Rock tells him that Defcon also knew what it took to be a good leader. That a good leader also knows how to follow and listen and learn, and to know your role. Anyway, after that, she tells Kanan that she's going out, and he can invite D-Wiz over to watch some bootleg movies. And guys, we already know that this is all a part of Rock's plan to give the streets a body. So next, as D-Wiz is walking up to Kanan's house, Lulu pulls up beside him and tells him to get in the car. And D-Wiz is like, no, I'm going to chill with Kanan or whatever. So Lulu says, oh, change your plans. Kanan is going to be at the party. He didn't tell you? So as D-Wiz is getting into Lulu's car, we see a city bus pulling up to the corner, and it's Miss Laverne, a.k.a. Jukebox, getting out. And guess what? She sees D-Wiz getting into Lulu's car. And so when I saw this, guys, I said, yeah, something is about to happen to D-Wiz, because why would they just be conveniently showing us Juke being a witness to D-Wiz getting in Lulu's car? So if anything happens, right, which we already know is going to happen, Jukebox is going to have an idea of who did it. But my question is, once she finds out or she puts 2 and 2 together, is she going to tell Kanan? And I'm kind of guessing that she won't. Anyway, so as D-Wiz gets in the car, Lulu says to him, you about to have the best night of your life, kid. And I ain't gonna lie, he did turn up for him or whatever. He did go out with a bang, but that's besides the point. Next, while Kanan is waiting for D-Wiz to get to his house, so anyway, he goes out to greet her, right? And I just want to say that the little girl looks terrible, okay? Her lips are all white. She just looks horrible. And I understand that she is mourning, but it's taking a toll on her physically. And we're also learning that she has to watch her little sister because her mom seems to be negligent. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the mother yet. I don't know if she's on drugs or what, but something is up. Anyway, Davina tells Kanan that they had an obituary in the paper for Buck, and it only had 4 sentences. She says Buck's whole life in 4 sentences. And it was kind of sad, you know? Anyway, before Davina leaves, she says to Kanan, I've been hearing that you and your friends probably had a beef with Buck. And of course, Kanan lies and tells her, don't listen to that because that's not real. I mean, to be honest though, it's kind of true. They didn't have beef with him. You know, they weren't friends, but they didn't have beef. But, you know, the problem was that Kanan took matters into his own hands. And that's why they're in this place now. Next, we get to Marvin's party, and there's a long line outside of the club, right? And so as he's going down the line telling his people, like, listen, I got you, you know, I'm gonna make sure you guys got priority or whatever to get in the club. He walks past these 3 guys, and one of the guys pats him on the back pretty freaking hard, right? And when Marvin turns around, he says, yo, I heard you looking for soldiers or whatever. And Marvin was like, where you from? And then the guy was like, QB. And then one of the other dudes was like, yeah, we down for whatever. So, you know, Marvin was like, that's good to know. Then one of the guys was like, what's up with you letting us, you know, skip the line or whatever, right? And Marvin was like, y'all gonna wait just like everybody else. Ain't no freaking shortcuts, right? But the reason why I'm bringing this scene up is because I was very leery about those 3 guys. You know what I'm saying? They was very, like, suspicious. Where the heck do y'all come from? You know what I'm saying? Either you're cops or you the ops, right? So I'm over here figuring that if they not cops, then maybe they were sent from Nique to spy on what the heck Rock is doing. But I would probably more so go towards the cop situation, because now that I think about it, Detective Howard says he's going to do what he can to make sure that Nique is the one that's sitting on the throne. So that also means that he can have a few other cops infiltrate Rock's crew. But time will tell. And one thing that I will say about that is, if Rock's crew ever does get infiltrated, I do believe that the best way in would be through Marvin, because I kind of feel like he's the weakest link. You know what I'm saying? No matter how loyal or tough, he's still the weakest link. That's the truth. So anyway, we get inside the club and we see Lulu talking to a chick about Mayor Dinkins. And then, you know, D-Wiz is walking around talking about, when the heck is Kanan gonna get here? So Lulu lies to him and tells him that Kanan will be here soon. But in the meantime, he hooks D-Wiz up with the chick that he was talking to. So D-Wiz goes into the bathroom and screws the chick in the bathroom. Next, we get to Rock, and she's on her date with Symphony, and it looks like they're in his little high-rise apartment and everything, right? And so he's telling her all about the history of the high-rises. And this is something that you can tell Rock, like, she seems like the type that likes to learn new things and history and all that stuff, right? Especially as we saw last week, how she was so into the stars and everything and the history behind them. So anyway, eventually they hit it off and they get it on, okay? That's the long story short, all right? So before they start to get it in, Symphony tells Rock that he wants to take it slow, so he was trying to be a gentleman about it. But we see already that Rock is the alpha female, so she wasn't trying to even take it slow. She was like, screw all that. Let's do what we came here to do, or at least what I freaking came here to do, all right? So while they're getting it in, we get a scene where Juke is in the bathroom, and she starts singing the Whitney Houston song, You Give Good Love, right? And I was just like, please don't turn this into a freaking high school musical, all right? Because I do not want to be hearing people putting on a performance all the time. I just don't. And don't get me wrong, her voice is very beautiful, but I just want to skip all the performances. But what I did appreciate was that instead of us, watching Juke sing, they showed other scenes while we heard her voice singing. So while Rock is getting her rocks off, we hear Juke singing, okay? And meanwhile, back at the club, Marvin gets into a scuffle with some dudes because they disrespected freaking Tony, okay? So now he's fighting and then he gets arrested, and Lulu comes out of the club with D-Wiz, and I thought he was about to just spring into action, but he gonna freaking look to his right and see what the heck going on with his brother and basically turn away. Like, I got other business to take care of, okay? He didn't have time for distractions, okay? That's another thing that Grown Kanan let us know in last week's episode, that if you wanted something to get done the right way, you called Uncle Lulu. And so this is an example of Uncle Lulu doing something the right way, not getting involved in any distractions, and trusting that his brother Marvin knew how to handle himself, okay? So he went on his way with D-Wiz to do what he has to do. So before we move on to D-Wiz and Lulu, right? Back at the club, while Marvin is getting arrested, Tony comes up to him and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry about all of this," right? And freaking Marvin gonna talk about, "Don't nobody disrespect my girl." And I'm like, are you kidding me, Marvin? You just gonna call this lady a girl out of nowhere? Like, we did see him flirting with her throughout this whole episode, but he just freaking stakes his claim real smooth and real quick, and she freaking fell for the okie doke, okay, and gave him a kiss in the mouth and everything, like, "Oh my gosh, nobody's ever fought for me before." So she's open. And so this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about some friction, all right? Possible friction happening between Marvin and his siblings, okay? Like I said, yes, loyal, all right? But if we put this lady in the mix, Tony, and she already don't like Rock, okay? Who knows what kind of beef she's going to stir up between this family now. Sometimes a woman can get in a man's ear and just screw stuff the heck up, all right? And I am afraid that that is what's going to happen. She is going to be a problem for the family because Marvin is going to listen to her and be influenced by her, right? That's what I'm thinking right now. But like I said, time will tell. So while we still hear Jukebox singing her song, we're also seeing that Kanan is looking through the obituaries and he sees a little 4 sentences that they had for Buck. And you know, Kanan looks like he's bothered, right? He does seem to have a conscience about this. You know, earlier when he was just eating his breakfast, scoffing it down, he didn't seem like he gave a crap. But as he's looking at the obituary, it does seem like it bothers him. So obviously, killing people is going to bother him less and less as time goes along. So next, as the scenes are kind of going in and out, right, we have Lulu and D-Wiz who are pulled over to take a piss on the wall underneath this bridge, right? So in another scene, we see Kanan calling Miss Washington, which is D-Wiz's mom, and he wants to know if D-Wiz is still there. Obviously, we know the answer to that, right? The answer is no. So Kanan does look very troubled by her answer. So then now we get back to the scene under the bridge with Lulu and D-Wiz. And D-Wiz was over there raving about how it was the best party ever and all that stuff. And like I said, you know, Lulu told him, "You about to have the best night of your life." And unfortunately, it was the last night of his life. Now, I don't know if that was something on purpose, you know, because Lulu knew that he was about to kill him. So he's saying, look, maybe at least I could show the little dude a good time. So as he's going on and on raving about how Amber was a dime and everything, the girl he was screwing in the bathroom, D-Wiz asks Lulu if he got her number. So, you know, Lulu's over there looking at his watch and everything. Then he takes out his gun. He ain't talking at all, right? So he just raises the gun to D-Wiz's head and pulls the trigger. And it was really sad, okay? And, you know, you could tell that Lulu did not want to do it, all right? So then he calls Rock and tells her that he hit a home run, right? And that was basically their little code for letting her know that the job was done. And, you know, one thing I will say is that Rock didn't seem too bothered behind it. And that bothered me. And so far, I really do like Rock, but I'm not sure how ruthless she's going to get. So that will also determine how much I'm going to like her. You know, like I said, I like her already, but her choice to take another mother's child away didn't sit well with me. You know, and I know the circumstances, you know what I'm saying? She feels like she has to choose between her child and somebody else's. And I guess I get it from that, you know what I'm saying? But it still didn't sit well with me. But we will see how far this story is going to go. You know, like, is this going to come back? And I do believe it is. It has to come back. You know what I'm saying? This secret is going to get out. I don't think that Juke is going to tell Kanan, at least not right away. But I think he will eventually find out. And who knows what Kanan is going to do with that. You know what I'm saying? How much did he love D-Wiz? Will he love him enough to want to turn his back on his mom or something like that, or his uncle? You know what I mean? But like I said, with this whole story, this backstory of Kanan, only time will freaking tell. And we already know that something is going to happen to each and every one of his daggone family members, because we never saw or heard about any of them in Power Book 1. All right. Now, that was the end of the episode. The episode does end with grown Kanan narrating about how stuff comes around. You always know the ending from how something started. And so while we hear his voice, you also see young Kanan in the bed. But that was the episode, guys, and that's the video for today. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And hit that notification bell so you know when I upload more videos like this one. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Until next time, take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.